or I'd written up this and Tabitha had made copies for you guys, but this is the resolution. It says, whereas the Rum River Watershed Restoration and Protection Strategies has identified land protection as an important management tool, whereas easements are a way to achieve ecological protections for targeted lands while still maintaining those lands in private ownership, whereas the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources administers a RIM easement program, therefore be it resolved, the Morrison County supports a Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources funding allocation for RIM in the Rum River watershed.
I'm
If I
thinking,
may, gentlemen, again, the reason I was one that really didn't feel we needed to be part of this because how was it? It was like 9% or less or something like that,
Yeah.
that they recommended if your county's in 9% of the watershed for Rum River, that you really don't need representation. I mean, you could, and we are invited to go to these
Yeah.
meetings if we want to. And then Dale Shaw is doing a great job updating the soil and water and that sort. So he lets us know what's going on as far as the soil and water, what votes they're gonna be doing. But I think the main county, is it Sherburne or which one is?
Sherburne, Isani, and Mille Lacs, it's almost their entire counties that are in the Rum.
And each county has one vote or something like that when is that how it works? If you could explain that?
So each representative
There we go.
would have a vote. So if the county is sending a soil and water elected board member and a county commissioner, they would each get a vote. So from each county, there's 2 votes.
And a question I have is this if we support this resolution, is there gonna be a cost factor down the road? Do
No.
you think at all?
No. So the way it would be is similar to our current RIM easements. Bowser would hold the easement. They would pay the district compensation for working through that process with the landowner. But really, it would be up to that group in the Rum River to decide if they wanted to request more funding. And typically with RIM funding, it's at, the request is for 100%. It's not asking for match, other than the reduced rate that landowner is getting paid, right? They're not getting their market value for that property. They're getting a reduced, assessment rate.
Okay, gentlemen, there's a resolution in front of you. I'm asking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
second.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jelinski.
last paragraph I think reads a little funny.
Yeah, we just need to add a few words, Board of Commissioners on the
Okay.
end of that, yep.
Okay. And then, quite honestly, I'm supposed to probably know the answer to this question. I
No.
don't. What does RIM stand for?
Reinvest in Minnesota.
Thank you, and I should know that, but I,
No, but
Just
we
wasn't
just
here.
say RIM all the time
yep,
too. I
that's okay.
apologize.
Nope.
They
it's
tell
not a
me
problem.
3 or 4 times at every meeting, and I keep on asking them.
I'm
so
sorry,
it's a
but
good
thank you
question.
very much. I did not know. And thank
Commissioner
you to
Wilson?
the administrator for catching that.
Yeah.
When you talk about doing this program, are you talking about doing it just for the people in Morrison County or the whole works?
Yeah, it would be a little bit different than ACUB where we do for multiple counties. This would be, we'd just be doing the Morrison County
portion of
folks.
that.
Yep.
Okay, Steve's got a question. Steve's got a
Oh,
question.
Steve.
Mr. Chairman Shannon.
Yep.
The county has a fairly substantial amount of public ditch system within the watershed. Will these easements have any impacts as we are moving forward with repairs of the ditch system?
So, and that's part of the reason I'm going to these meetings is because I'm really concerned about our public ditch systems down there, because I don't think folks in the cities really understand the importance to landowners that those have. So if there's a RIM easement on the property, you're asking if they would be able to maintain those ditches?
Or, is there any impacts to the ditch system if there is an easement, a limited easement on the property that the ditch crosses?
From my understanding, if there's maintenance rights and on the public ditches, there are, that those would be allowed to be maintained. It would be any other activity, building development is really what these easements are structured around. Mainly they're targeting forested lands, And a lot of those ditch systems probably do run through forested lands, but then they're required to spell out in their stewardship plan what their goals for the property are, and there's activity still allowed. It's not hands-off completely like some federal programs.
As we propose projects then, Shannon, is that reviewed by your office or that, whatever issue you want?
Yep, so we could do a glance, see if there's anything that would be startling to the Bowser board. If there was something major like new ditching, of course, I think that would be something that would have to go to the Bowser board, and I'm assuming that would be difficult, but with the maintaining of the public ditches, I don't see an issue with that.
We're in repair, we haven't been doing improvements, so hopefully there shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, we would help the Public Works office work with that, and Bowser board if need be.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Just that I haven't gone to any of those meetings because I think in our discussion before, you said you would notify me if you wanted the county to be
Yeah.
there, that you were kind of representing us at this time. So if you need me to be there for voting or whatever, you let me know.
Yeah, definitely, and if they're starting to vote and move on things that are going to affect us,
Okay.
having another voting member there will be important. But at this time, they're still just forming some of these
Sounds good.
committees.
In that case, yeah, and I'm sure Commissioner Wilson could be informed by Mr. Shaw too about these items if anything
Yeah,
comes about. Anyway, gentlemen, I have a resolution in front of you with a slight amendment on paragraph 4. I have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is that it, Shannon?
that's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
Have a
Sorry
good
to
week.
Put you behind on things.
Fine, we're right on
Just-
time.
We'll see you next week.
There, bud, you could have my back.
Great River Regional Library, come on up. State your names for the record, please.
Morning, I'm Karen
Good morning.
Punsack, Great River Regional Library Executive Director, and
I'm Aaron Murphy, Accounting and Distribution Supervisor for Great River Regional Library.
thanks for some
morning.
time on your agenda today. Really nice boardroom, I think probably the nicest of the 6 counties at this point. But everyone's doing construction projects, so it's kind of interesting to see how much is changing. I really like the way you guys are set up, so.
Thank you.
yeah,
Yes, I like the
nice work.
screen.
It took a little bit to find it. So this morning, we are here to talk a little bit about our 2020 budget. Part of our joint powers agreement says we'll have next year's budget set by August 1st, and the Great River Board has achieved that once again. So just to give you a little overview, Great River Regional Library is 33 locations in 6 counties. And we have over 108,000 borrowers, and those are people who have used their card at least once in the last 3 years to either check out books or use a computer. There's a lot of other services that we have that don't require a card, but it is one measure that we use to gauge how people are using the library. On the next slide, you can see we have libraries in 5 of the cities in Morrison County. So of the 33 locations, 5 are here. And about a quarter of the people in Morrison County have an active library card. So they've used it at least once in the last 3 years. You can see there's a lot of library activity happening here, especially when you consider the size of the libraries. Other than Little Falls, most of them are smaller locations. And one of the few locations we're seeing a marked increase in activity is actually in the Piers Library. So it's been really interesting to see that little city take off. I'm sure you're seeing it in other areas as well.
We see it in the budget.
Sorry. That button wasn't what I wanted to push.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
I think we talked a little bit about the locker system out in Sartell. It's our 33rd location. It's part of a pilot project with the city of Sartell. It's fully funded by the city of Sartell. So it doesn't greatly impact the budget at this time. We're in year 2 of the 3-year pilot. And you can see a photo of it. On the left is the locker system itself. People can ask that a hold be delivered in Sartell. into that locker system. And then on the far left, there's the express checkout machine. So they scan their library card, the locker pops open and checks the book out to them. Then we also have a book return in that location. So it's a new model of service that we've been experimenting with. Some of the other projects that have come up in the last year has been fines-free juvenile materials. As of June 1st, at the beginning of the year, the Great River Board approved moving to fines-free on all kids' items. So that's been a new move, and that's been very well received by the public. And we're also going to be rolling out wireless printing at all locations by the end of the year. And those were two projects that came out of some designations that came from board activity last year. So jumping into next year's budget, a reminder, our formula is set up in the Joint Powers Agreement. It's 1/3 borrower numbers, 1/3 population, and 1/3 tax capacity. So the amount each county pays varies from year to year. 70% of our revenue comes from our 6 counties, so thank you for that level of support. We're also seeing about 17% of our revenue coming from the state. And that number we kind of guess at each year because the dollar amounts come in after the budget is set. This year we guessed within $10,000, which was a pretty good guess on $1.5 million number. It was a decline. It was the 3rd year we've seen a decline in state funding at this point. And there has been no final activity at the legislature to fix the state library funding formula at this point. We got really close last year. There was a measure that went into the Education Committee at the House and at the Senate, but did not make it out in the final hours of negotiating the state budget. And then Aaron can talk to you a little bit about how our funding is shaping up for next year.
So for 2020, if I could back up a slide here, please. Thank you. For Morrison County, it was a 0.959% increase, and that was mainly due to sizable growth in your NTC from the prior year.
NTC.
Net tax capacity. I'll refrain from acronyms. Thank you, Randy. And I also wanted to point out on the next slide, as you can see there, Morrison County is now back to its 2018 level of service. It took a dip in 2019 and then went back up in 2020 due to the net tax capacity issue.
Mr. Chair, excuse me. Aaron,
Yes.
back to our 2018 level of service. Level
Yes.
of money we're putting in? What do you mean level of
I
service?
think you meant level of support.
Level of support. Sorry.
Services.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Very good.
aren't
That's fine.
impacted.
Very good.
Services are even better.
Okay. Very- Thank you.
Good
You're welcome.
recovery.
Yeah. I'm on my game this morning. So this slide here is just basically showing how Morrison County compares to the other 6 counties that support Great River system. The next slide, this is just a blown up view of just Morrison County. As you can see, like for 2018 and 2020, they're about level there. It just kind of shows the trend. It has been going up since 2013, and that is due to growth. Okay. Well, this slide here shows the per capita figures for each county as compared to total revenue for Great River, and that $20.80 includes buildings and maintenance of effort receipts that we receive, compared to the statewide, which is $41.56 per person. So Great River is operating at $19.46, which is under half. So we are a very efficient and lean system. And I think Karen can maybe talk a little bit more about that. If you want.
Sure.
Okay.
You did a nice job.
Thank you.
The other counties have asked, how do we compare to other systems? Some of the systems to the north are funded at direct maintenance of effort levels, but across the state, especially like Arrowhead region, which is headquartered out in Mountain Iron, a lot of those cities are paying close to that state level. And then down in Hennepin County, they have an $80 million budget for 41 libraries who are running 32 and a locker on $9 million. So while we don't have the buildings to support, we are running a fairly efficient system, and our services are often compared to that Hennepin County level. So we work really hard to deliver high-quality services for the most cost-effective amount that we can.
And one main way that we accomplish that is by a floating collection too. So every citizen within the 6-county region has access to the same material versus it being permed to one location.
And then we don't have to buy 32 copies of every book that we buy. So it's one of the measures that we use. A good proportion of our funding goes towards staffing at our locations. We have a lot of places to keep open, and that's the largest part of our staffing budget.
And if I may, sitting on the board for a year or two for Great River, you know, they do a great job. Aaron does,
Thank
well,
you.
the whole board does, you know, or the staff does as far as watching your budget. I think, again, as far as employees go, you make every little bit of one person that can handle this library, that library. Karen always brings good information to the board. Again, as far as like the increase, again, it's always salaries. We understand that, salaries and hospitalization where it comes through. But also in this case, for this year, our card, people applying for cards went up this year quite a bit in Morrison County, so then that affects our budget. So believe me, I look at the numbers on there. They do a good job, so I'm always trying to keep it at zero, but sometimes
We
it
try
doesn't.
to, Randy.
You know, yeah, they're right. They all do that, you know, so so you guys do a great job, so.
Well, and thanks for your support.
you.
Morrison County is one of our greatest supporters, and Randy Winter, being our board chair for the last year and a half, has been a real asset for us. So thank you, Randy, for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
And we also want to just give a shout out to the libraries here in your communities. There's been some really great community partnerships happening, and that's because of the people in Morrison County wanting to work together and improve people's lives across the county. So thanks.
Oh, good to see you guys.
Thank you.
And then we got negotiating for labor union coming up. you know.
Yeah,
That'll be great too,
that'll
won't
be
it?
interesting. Both contracts are expiring
There we
this
go.
year, so it's
Anything
really
else,
interesting.
gentlemen? Very good information.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Have a good week.
You too.
We'll see you next week, I think, right?
17.
17th, yep. Crane Meadows. Can you please state your name? I see we have a guest here.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board. I'm Steve Carl, Refuge Manager at Crane Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. And this morning I have a new employee with me, Nikki Ellingson. She's just started here about a month ago, or maybe somewhere right in there. And she's a grad student from NDSU and has joined us as a wildlife refuge specialist for our complex. So she's stationed at Sherburne, but one of the tasks I've put on her plate is to be more involved with Crane Meadows. As you know, we have very limited staff there when we only got one maintenance guy that's stationed there. And as a complex, we're very thin, but we have a shortage of staff. But so Nikki will be helping out with some of the events and activities and administrative and stuff like that at Crane Meadows. And so you'll probably see her around on occasion for those kind of things.
Well,
And
welcome, Nikki, to the county.
we don't have a uniform for her yet. That's
North Dakota State does this well, right?
so, yeah, so. I want to provide you some hunting brochures. Can I bring those
Yeah,
forward?
please.
Please do.
So the main reason I'm here this morning is I wanted to give you guys all an update on the Crane Meadows hunt changes that we've done. I think I've brought this to your attention here earlier this year that we were working on doing some more opening of Crane Meadows for hunting. And so I wanted just to kind of give you a little bit of an update of what the process is and where we're at right now. For the first part, I guess I want to mention is that we have opened Crane Meadows, part of the refuge to hunting as of September 1st. And so we do have some additional hunting opportunities out there right now. And so just to back up a little bit, in 2010, we had our Comprehensive Conservation Plan, which was our CCP. And in 2011, a step-down plan from that was our hunt plan, which allowed for special hunts for hunters with disabilities or youth, for deer and turkey only on 3 units out there, and we have a total of 14 units. But there was only 3 that were actually opened. Later on, we did a category exclusion and actually were allowed to hunt on some of the other units as well. But anyways, at that time, that was all we have, up till just recently, that was all we had for our hunting opportunities. I also want to provide some information on the fact that, some clarification is that national wildlife refuges, when they're established, basically they're close to all uses. So there's not one single thing you can do on a national wildlife refuge until that we go through the process to open them up. So whether it be berry picking or hunting or any type of allowing people into the refuge, those are all closed initially. For those that are familiar with waterfowl production areas, WPAs, those are also part of the refuge system, but those are just opposite. Those are open to everything once they're purchased. They're like, because they're purchased with duck stamp dollars, and so they're open to hunting, all hunting activities. And of course, you're familiar with the state wildlife management areas, which are typically opened also once they're acquired. And within our acquisition boundary, there's a lot of state WMAs in there as well. So one of our goals was to align as best we could with the state on these areas, so people could hunt on the federal and the state side very similarly. So I guess one of the main reasons why we were opening this up to hunting is one of the primary reasons in 1997, it was the Improvement Act, which allowed for the 6 uses of national wildlife refuges to be appropriate. And those are wildlife observation, photography, hunting, fishing, environmental education, and interpretation. So those 6 uses were deemed appropriate, but we still have to go through all the process to get these things open. And so there's still a lot to do once you have a use. And then the other big push was secretarial orders that came out. And the first day of Secretary Zinke's term, he signed the Secretary Order of Conservation, Stewardship, and Outdoor Recreation. Then on September 15th of 2017, that was on March 2nd of 2017, September 15th of 2017, he signed another Secretary Order for hunting, fishing, recreational shooting, and wildlife conservation opportunities and coordination with states, tribes, and territories. Well, basically those 2 orders were the main purpose there was for federal lands to be more open to public uses and recreational uses, especially hunting. That was something that was identified in those orders. And so in that process, our agency, along with several other agencies, had to look at what we were doing on the landscape for hunting opportunities and other recreation opportunities. And we started, we established hunt and fish review personnel that would come out and review our processes. So that's what kind of kicked it all off. And so as of fall of 2018, we started our hunt plan process after a hunt fish review, and we were able to start the process of writing our environmental assessment, our hunt plan, our compatibility determination, appropriate use, and of course it involved a lot of coordination with states and tribes, state agencies and tribes. And then on May 1st, we had a public open house. It was a 30-day public comment period for those that were that wanted to come to the meeting or wanted to have any comments on our hunt plan. We received a few comments, and those were addressed. And then all this, and then the process went out to the Federal Register from, I'm not sure exact dates, but it pretty much ended in mid-August. And then after that comment period, after that was over, those comments were addressed, and then the final rule was established in the Code of Federal Regulations to have us open up for September 1st. So in that brochure I passed out, that was newly established, and matter of fact, that was one of Nikki's first jobs that she was tasked with, and she did a nice job on it. This is our brochure, and it shows the species that can be hunted in there. We pretty much opened up to practically everything that aligns with the state, with the exception of bear. And the reason we didn't do bear is because, first of all, there's not a lot of bear on Crane Meadows. But then the second of all is in the state, we're trying to stay consistent with other refuges in the state that also have conflicts with issues with bear hunting. Couple of reasons why is sometimes tribal members have concerns, and then also, we don't allow baiting on national wildlife refuges, so that's typically how people hunt bear, and so we have elected to not allow bear. So, but otherwise, most of the species are similar. Another difference we have is we don't have any fur bear hunting at night, and the main reason is because the refuge is closed half an hour before sunrise to half an hour after sunset, or it's closed. Yeah, did I say that right? Refuge closed half an hour before sunrise to half hour after sunset. I said that right? Okay. But anyway, so those are a couple of differences, but otherwise we align very much like with the state. So there's, out of the 14 units, there were 6 units that were open, and 6 units that are not open at currently. And the reason why is because we don't have surveys, on those parcels. We're working on that. We're hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll have those remaining areas surveyed, but typically, now when we acquire lands, those are all surveyed right off the bat. At that time, when some of these were acquired, they weren't surveyed. And just to eliminate the potential for trespass issues on neighboring lands, we want to make sure that we know exactly where our boundaries are. We do have signs, but still we want to make sure that we're not having trespass. So we've elected to not open those yet. So there's 6 units that aren't. And then there's 2 units that are, I think they're on that brochure, that are for special hunt only units. Maybe they're just listed as closed. But there's a headquarters unit where the shop and facilities are. And also there's the little Shola Memorial unit, which is only 22 acres. We don't have good access to that property, so that one's not open. But those are gonna continue to be special hunt units, so we'll still do the disabled hunts on those units, which I wanna mention that October 15th and 16th is our hunt for hunters with disabilities that we do every year, and so that's coming up. We will also be using the other units of the refuge at that time, so the refuge would be closed for those days when that's happening.
Can I ask you a question, Steve?
Yeah.
Does the DNR lands, are they open, or what are the?
Yeah,
Okay.
the DNR lands are all open.
And that's what you want to align with is?
Yes,
Okay, I
yes, we were trying
understand now, sorry.
to coordinate a little better. That was one of Secretary Zinke's and now Secretary Bernhard's goals, is to try to align with states a little better, and to provide more opportunities for recreational opportunities for the American people.
Perfect.
And so then the one thing that we did come up with in this brochure, you'll notice on the front page, there's a little signing of a little permit there. It's free, doesn't cost anything, but basically it's just saying when you're hunting on Crane Meadows, you need to have that with you. And the reason we have that is because these regulations, the units that are open to hunting will be changing as we get surveys or if there's new acquisitions or anything. And we want the people that are hunting there to know what the regulations are. So there's a lot of refuges that do this across the country, but it's just mainly when you sign that, you are saying, I read the brochure.
Yeah, it's not a license.
Yeah, it's just says, you know what's going on, and we want to make sure people know where they're hunting and where they're supposed to be, and then of course you still have to have the Minnesota regular hunt permits like you would for every species.
So, Mr. Chair, so if hunting season's open, you got your proper license with the state of Minnesota, I can go to any of these A areas and go hunting if I
Yeah.
possess this in my?
Yep.
I don't have to ask for permission from anybody else?
No. The areas that are listed here as open, which I believe is A.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Those are the areas that are open to hunting, so you just can go hunt. And so, yeah, it's not a lot of acres. You can see there's a lot of B acres that we want to get open as soon as we get some surveys. Some of them require, like the Platte, all over on the Platte River on the very far left. I think we only need like 1 or 2 little boundary lines marked because we have the property inside the road and the river. There's just a couple other spots we just need to firm up. So we'll be opening these as we get them surveyed, and so this will change. We're gonna make this will be a new thing every year.
And I think this is a great thing, because that was one of the things throughout the years, why can't we hunt in Crane
Right,
Meadows?
Right.
How you're getting there.
Yep. And I fully support it. We try to move forward on this in 2014, and in 2014 we had very few of these surveyed, And I've been working on this for the last few years, so we actually have something to open when we open it. And then, of course, with the secretary's orders, this really pushed us over the top to get this done and move forward. So I'm pretty proud of where we're at right now with it, and I hope that it has a lot of economic benefits to the county and to the people here that utilize that refuge, so. That's pretty much all I had to report.
Gentlemen, any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. On your brochure here for the Sioux Line Trail,
Yeah,
it says the Sioux Line closes all ATV traffic October 31st. No motorized vehicles can be used on the trail until it opens to snowmobiles. We changed that
oh,
about a year ago where ATVs can run until the groomer goes out.
okay,
For the years that it's real nice till December, that it's closed for the 2 weeks of hunting. The deer hunting, the ATV trail's closed, but ATVs can go on the Sioux Line in our area until the groomer goes out. Once the
Okay.
groomer goes out, then the ATV's gotta quit and it's snowmobiles. Am I correct on
Yeah,
that?
we
Is there-
can.
Is there a regulation that you can get to me on that?
Yes, Steve will
please?
get that to
Yeah.
you, the new
We're-
ordinance, good catch, that's.
We're
good.
printing these out as we go, so we
Okay.
can adjust them if we need to,
Perfect.
so,
Yep.
excellent. Yeah, okay. That's good to know.
Okay.
I know that was a concern because people are saying, how do I get there? Well, you can still walk it with a cased weapon to get to, because some of our properties only have access off that, there's only one of them, I guess, that only has access off that Sioux Line, so.
And the reason we changed that is sometimes there's 3 months they could drive four-wheelers yet before snowmobiles
Yeah.
start.
That's
And
a
one
good-
winter, but I don't even think the groomer even went.
Yeah, no,
You
that's a
know.
good change.
So that's what that change was.
Okay, okay. And that trail is managed by the county, that's correct, right? Yeah.
The Eastern Morrison County Gun Club, or Eastern Morrison County Four-Wheeler Club, like, does the maintenance and stuff on it, but it's, the line's owned by the county.
Okay, okay. Yeah, if you could forward any
Yep, will
information on
do.
that, we'll try to, maybe even put that that link in there or something if we could or something. like that,
Perfect.
so.
Steve, do you have any extra copies of these at all?
I got 3 of them here.
All right,
Oh, I was gonna nab all the extra, Mike.
too late.
Just
I want.
There were a few on my counter the other day, I noticed.
I do want to mention
Anybody else
that
want an extra one? Okay.
these are on the website. You can go out and print them off on the website. So that's where people are, to get those right now, you go on the website or in the parking lots that are open to hunting, there's a brochure box there. So that's where you can acquire them. We're gonna hopefully make sure that they're always available for folks, so they don't have any issues with that, so.
You know, dumb question maybe, but let's say I'm a deer hunter. Can I walk across B to get to A?
Well, typically, if you can with a cased weapon.
Right.
Or, you can't have it already.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, because
Yeah.
some of these
Yeah.
probably couldn't get that close with the, unless you walk across the other
Right.
one.
So one of the things that people sometimes weren't aware of is they thought Crane Meadows was closed to all public use. Well, we've never had a sanctuary on it. You could walk out there anytime on these areas. There's nothing closed to walking in.
Right.
And so, but if you are walking in a closed area with a firearm, you have to have it cased and unloaded.
Makes sense.
Just so a game warden knows that you're not hunting there,
Right,
so.
yeah, sure. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? Nikki, you have anything to say? No. All right, good enough. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you, Steve. Thank you, Nikki.
How about we take the sheriff's report and then we'll take a 5? How's that sound?
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
So I'm here today just regarding a resolution authorizing the Morrison County Sheriff's Office to get into an agreement with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety for the purposes of traffic safety enforcement, also known as TZD, which stands for Towards Zero Deaths.
Mr.
And-
Chair, I sit on that committee and I'll move on that.
We have a motion, a second. Anything else? Any more discussion on it?
Just that we were awarded $13,750, and again, that will go into effect from October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, just as a note, as you probably know, public health also receives the towards zero death dollars. That's for prevention work, and then this is the enforcement work, and so it's a multifaceted grant.
Sheriff, thank you.
Good program. Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, let's take 5.
Would you like more time, Sean? Would you like more time?
Five-page of notes.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's when you don't have the notes to ask all the questions.
Yeah, all right, let's take 5 or 10. This is, I'm glad they opened this damn.
Oh, it is so cool.
Well, your boys go hunt there, that's why you wanna know the rules.
Well, you cross-country ski at this, right?
This is the trail that I love to run at and stuff. That's that main, like,
So you go park there,
park here, yeah.
and then
And
just
then I
go
utilize
around.
the trail. Yep. It's a great, it's 3.2 miles.
Good.
Just about kills me when I drive the whole thing, but yeah, it's wonderful. I love
Especially
it.
Don't have to have
You don't have to do,
nothing, just go.
yeah, it's open.
And then the hunting part is, that's all in that bag. Well, you can see the properties, but yeah,
You
the
can
boys are
bag one of those cranes.
super excited.
Yeah,
'cause it's real
that's
close
what I
to our
should
house.
ask. Can you shoot them cranes?
Yeah, they taste just like bald eagle.
They taste like flying ribeye.
Should've told them they really don't taste like chicken.
Yep,
20 minutes?
yep, I know.
You could tell.
Amy, let me know. Yeah, I wonder if it was a storm again or something. It was, well, Monday night, yeah, before we recorded again, we gotta check it obviously. Sorry, Mark.
You're on a roll, you're doing well.
Hey, it takes me about 8, 9 months to get going, but
Yeah,
we
and
get
then you
there.
gotta get off the chair.
That's right, yep.
Maybe we should just leave you there for
I'll
2
be
years.
happy to
so
sit
that
on
you-
the end.
Oh, maybe we should just leave you there since you know what you're doing finally, you know.
No, let somebody else do it.
You know, it's amazing, there's not that much to do, but when you gotta run things, you gotta keep your mind on everything, you know, that's,
But again, it's just part of the job, and I say, that'll,
it is.
everybody else did a good job too. I don't know how good these rookies will be doing here, but.
Yeah, they'll learn.
I'm not gonna do it, I'm gonna
He's a-
abstain.
He's not a rookie anymore, you see.
Well, he hasn't been board chair, so I can call him rookies.
There you go.
County board meeting today at 9:00. Boy, my phone's a little bit late today.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what were all these updates we got for these meetings?
You talking about the updates?
For planning sessions, and I even got some from you guys, and I was gonna ask Tabitha. Well, where in the hell are all these, accept all these meetings?
What about these announcements?
Right, see, oh, there's announcements, that's what we agreed to, so if they, let's say the courthouse is, the county is having a widget dinner.
That's
that announcement.
other thing that we have. It's,
You have to click on them.
Well,
but
you
that's-
have to kind of be registered for it, don't you?
I think they registered all of us.
Well, I can't get into
Well, I never
Well,
tried.
then you need to talk to
I just
IT.
delete them in.
But that's all of the announcements that come
Right,
across.
but my point on this here was these dates that they're setting again.
I don't know what that was.
I didn't accept them or nothing like that either. Did you guys accept all them dates?
I think I did.
I think I accepted it. Some of them were time changes.
With the chairs and stuff, that one?
Well, here's, I got 15 updates, so I never accepted them or denied them.
I didn't
But
get
everybody
15.
got them.
Yeah, I always just accept them.
Well, but then I got some canceled, and it's like,
Oh, something
Something with
changed.
chairs and
Right.
tables or something.
Something changed a week though, didn't it? Some meeting we had?
I didn't look at it at all, but I might as well just accept
know
them.
which one it
We'll
was.
get them when we do our schedules.
Wasn't it just the public works and the landfill one
Is that
that
what it was?
changed?
How's that coffee this morning?
Oh,
It's the best coffee out there.
Saw things going our way, Mike, good? No one died recently. I just had one of our big anti-solar people died
Oh, really?
by Royalton. Just Massive heart attack out in Colorado.
Yeah, that's,
66 years old.
I'm getting there. How old are you?
61.
61, you're just a young pup.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna be what, 65? You're 60
I'm going to be 60.
Next year, right?
No, November 12th,
You'll be 64?
yeah.
anything about the ATV, or not the ATV, the bales, have you heard anything?
Mm-mm.
If they were tied down there.
Well, I don't think they were, I don't know, yeah. They were small bills though, right?
I don't
Oh,
know,
I think they're small
they're
bills.
small squares.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
But I truly don't. I
It's
think,
kinda funny, if they were, but then I just seen that one of my neighbors going down the road, big rounds, not tied down.
well, and Roger's that way, you know what I mean? It's quick
Oh,
and
he,
fast.
he
Yeah,
pushes them, but I'm just saying a lot of them.
yeah, no, I know they do, yeah.
They go short distance, they make 10 miles, and they all make it 10 miles. Shit happens to fall off.
That's just farming, you're in a hurry and you don't take the time to, you know, you're not getting paid $30 an hour to tie stuff down.
Right, yeah.
So do we have more committees coming in for budget today? More
Yeah,
departments?
1 o'clock. No, we have like the departments coming in, no one from the outside, like, I don't think Historic Society is coming, maybe they are. They're the only one that's outside.
Are you questioning whether you should be there?
Kinda.
Okay,
It's not a
to
big,
be honest with you, it's exactly what they presented. They're gonna tell you why they presented it. And you don't have to, I mean, you're gonna approve the budget.
what do you guys think about bringing
Do what?
Cause that 1.17,
Yeah, but,
let's make it
well, no,
big.
wait a minute though. The problem is, it could be zero, because they haven't counted the dollars for new construction yet. He doesn't even know what that figure is yet.
Yeah.
So we could be at zero.
Yeah, oh, but that's, we can go down from the, we can't go up. Preliminary, then you can't go up anymore, you can go down, so that we could bring it.
If we would say, if him and I would say one, then that would be like we're agreeing with you and Mike, and I'll be damned if I'll.
We know that for sure.
I'm trying to get Blaine on this side here.
I'm trying to put him in the middle, we gotta use him as a bubble here.
Republican, but
No, I was at a meeting last night where it's just, it's so divisive, it's almost vile.
must have been a good meeting then.
It's Rosenmeyer board up at the college up in Brainerd, and there's a lady there, and she's trying to eliminate like 4 of us off the board, cause we're all conservatives. And they're so partisan, but nobody ever talked that way or anything like that. And she's trying to do it through the bylaws and everything. And of course, you have people like this that try and dick with me, that you have to, the first thing is you'll have to be smarter than me. I'm not that smart, but you have to be smarter than me. And so when you're not, and then I publicly come out in the meeting and just clarify all this, and it just pisses them off. So then they're like, and it's like, I know that if you gave them a baseball bat, they'd want to swing it at me,
Sure.
you know?
But to me, again, there's Democrats and then there's, these liberals are just getting way too far out there. It's just like,
But the Republicans have their extremist, kind of like the Agenda 21,
Right.
you know, kind of thing too. But
aren't those are the only two you hear from, is the far left and the far right. The middle kind of like, we don't give a shit.
No, but you know what, they vote silently.
Well, they do. They're the ones in the middle. Oh, sure they
They
do.
vote silently.
But then, this, our here getting this thing. I think we're gonna, if we come in, let's say we come in at 1.25, just pull a number out of my ass or whatever. Your boo.
I've not heard you yet about this.
So we were talking about this last night, cause we're up in Brainerd.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of people, most of the people, I'm the only guy, there was 2 of us from Morrison County. Everybody else is from up north. Well, Conway, went on a string that they ran 0
We
Oh, I know,
And
that.
mention
There's
that.
so much shit
in the office that we were getting here late.
Then
Yeah,
they
it's
couldn't,
just.
We need to reevaluate. We had kind of talked about how we
they
actually.
couldn't hold, they
Yeah.
couldn't hold they couldn't hold the bubble.
It was on our
together.
radar.
And
We
so
get it
some
today.
bitch blew up and
But it's
then-
not sometimes. It's
Yeah, when I went to seven, then all of a sudden, and so I go, you know, that's, I was thinking about this, yesterday, and I'm thinking, you know,
We need to make sure when
the
we
number starts with
get authorization to hire.
175, not saying that's where it should go.
Request. Okay.
I think
So I'm gonna have to add it too.
the board would get a huge amount of praise from the public. You know, silent,
Anything
silently.
under two
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
I look at, oh, go ahead.
But in the end, kind of to what you were saying, Mike, with, in showing a lot more wisdom on this through the process, that too, because you've been through this, but, you know, it's very possible we could be.
Oh, yeah.
See, I wouldn't wanna go negative, because I think it's better to save the money and have a little bit than ask somebody for 5% later.
But
I don't
tell you,
think we should spend it.
we've been consistent, we've had like Crowley, cause I said, all I heard was some of them calling zero levy, you know. Last year, they didn't say boo at seven.
And some of them are gone.
Yep, they're gone, huh?
Well, so then look at Wright County. When I was in, when I was in the legislature, Wright County was the most Republican county or most conservative county in the state of Minnesota. I mean, you had to get a permit to live there if you were a flippin' Democrat, you know? I mean, was our joke. But, so then, they went to a 17% levy increase last year. And Michelle's company, or, you know, Contegrity is building, they're building
To Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal,
Yeah.
Taj Mahal, fucking Mahal,
Yeah.
Wright County down there, and now, after that budget passed at 17%, the guys down there getting damn
Crucified.
shot at.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Cause I served with Mike, what's Mike's last name? And but he's always spent, but now he's starting to swallow hard because
well, so the word on the street down there is that some of these guys, it's gonna be on
well,
foot.
one county commissioner, he's a pretty nice guy, he's not refiling next year. I know, I talked to him, like, he's really very, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know, a lot of them, yeah, they're gonna roll because of that.
I just think
And,
it's important.
but, you know, the thing that was funny about it is if you go down to Ray County
What?
and you look,
Oh,
I mean, you look
Deb had them ordered in and I just labeled them. Are you guys gonna put anything in them?
you know, commercial, industrial, all that stuff.
I will today.
I
And
mean,
usually
do they have
people
the,
don't
do they
walk
have
through
the
there. I
ability
mean,
to have
obviously the public doesn't
17%
have access and
increase?
social services
Yeah.
doesn't really walk through there,
But
so
you
nobody
know
really
who's,
does that at all.
who's bitching the most about the down there, that's causing,
Like pens and papers, like it should be just.
because you have all the people in the town,
Absolutely.
they all want, well, we want a new school, or we want new roads, or all this stuff. But if you go into the hills, or if you go outside of the
The
town,
wallflowers, right there.
then it's all the
against the
horse
wall.
people. And a lot of them have money, but they're the ones who are getting dinged really hard, and they said, you know what, pull the pin.
Did you want another one of these?
No, two should be plenty for me, but if you're not gonna use it, I'll take it.
I didn't realize it was, could be printed.
And,
Just
well,
need-
Use it. I'm gonna hold it.
and you're exactly right.
Trying to save some
But the
people.
thing is, they took the,
You're gonna shoot some cranes, Mr. Lemire, is that what I heard?
You're talking
How about, let's
shooting
get
cranes.
social services up here, Brad.
You guys are so mean. Good morning.
Good morning.
morning,
Good morning.
good morning, Melanie.
Morning, Melanie.
All right, good morning. Well, as you might recall, we came to planning a couple weeks ago to talk about our consumer support grant. and that we're gonna bring forth the policy and forms for approval, so I'll let Melanie just follow up on that a little bit.
Okay, we're requesting approval of the Consumer Support Grant Policy and Procedure, and we did go ahead and forward all those forms to you again, in some coherent order, I hope this time. And I just want to give a brief background and explanation of the Consumer Support Grant. Morrison County does not have to manage this grant, that is state money, but we have elected to do so. And part of the reason that our agency thinks it's a good thing for us to do is that it does help persons with disabilities live in the community and in their home setting with supports of their family members, which are all things that Morrison County Social Services overall has supported. We do collect a 5% off the grant. Part of the grant we retain here to fund our activities in case management, which is actually quite minimal. The consumer works with a fiscal support entity or fiscal management support person, and they develop their budget, and that entity runs the background checks on any family or friends or kin or spouses that are going to provide any direct care. And so we just are kind of, I would say, more of a pass-through. And then we do review the budgets to make sure that they are not, we're not reimbursing family members or the consumer for anything that would typically be expected to be paid for any person. And so it must relate to their disability, and it must make sense for their care plan. And so we have worked with the state of Minnesota and developed and used a number of their forms that help make that clear to the consumer, that they understand that they are, what they're agreeing to, and also that there is an appeal process for this. If we deny an expense because we believe it to be not related to the disability or something that would typically be covered as a parent or a provider anyway, then they have an appeal process through the state of Minnesota.
Which is why we're bringing it forth for the board for approval.
Gentlemen,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Commissioner
Yes.
Zelinski?
Mr. Chair, first of all, let's make it very perfectly clear, I fully support this. But I do have a question. With everything, there's a cost, and I get that. So, and again, I fully support this. Is it gonna cost another, are we gonna have to hire another employee to manage this? Are we gonna have to, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Do we need to hire a half-time person to deal on this?
I've kind of figured out the FTEs that we need for this, and it really comes down to probably less than a 0.1.
Okay.
And so right now, we have it kind of attached to other case management duties.
Okay.
For example, if we already are providing case management under the Developmental Disabilities Program, that worker also manages the CSG component of that. So the CSG, the Consumer Support Grant, becomes kind of like another service that we're managing under case management. We have some children's mental health cases that use Consumer Support Grant. And then we do have a few cases, a handful, maybe about 5 that are standalone only Consumer Support Grant. And again, the amount of time that is spent on that is so minuscule. For that worker, we can't even really get down to a point whatever.
Okay.
So you throw all that together, it becomes like a 0.1. Some of those other, beyond the 5%, we might be recapturing other targeted case management funds to also pay for that time.
And again, I very much, I appreciate it, I fully support it. Is the funding at the end of the day, and this is a stupid question because it obviously is it worthwhile? I mean, if you have, whether it's a child, whether it's an adult with disabilities, of being whatever that disability is, it's obviously worthwhile at the end of the day to do this.
It's worthwhile to the family. What I've noted as I've taken this program over is some of the families have continued with this program for a long time. And it has maintained a level of service and help them be able to stay in their home, for example, with their spouse.
Yep.
Or have kids stay at home with their parents. For other families, they will find that it's not quite right for them, and they will move on to a different type of service, or perhaps a family support grant, or discontinue that because there are a lot of paperwork and responsibilities
Yep.
with this and expectations. So for some families, they just would like to go back and have the support of a case manager entirely doing that instead of them taking control over that.
Thank you very much, great explanation.
If I may, the start and end time of this grant is what again?
The start and end grant of this grant is, I'm trying to remember now, because I've got family support grant in the brain, and that is a calendar year, and consumer support grant is July to July,
State fiscal year.
fiscal year.
Okay, so then again, this is something, once it runs out, then you'll have to relook value, whether it's, working out or something.
Well, what happens is, because it's
Right.
state money, and the budget is figured out based on their home health care assessment that comes out of the Min-Choices assessment. So when you think about persons with disabilities, and you have, those with less needs and those with greater needs, and the waivers being on the end of greatest needs, this is just on the other side of waivers. So it's persons with pretty significant needs. So they have to have a Min-Choices assessment, and that Min-Choices assessor puts in to their system, answers questions about their level of disability and daily care needs, and that generates a budget or a number.
So what was funding this prior to this grant? Do we have some idea, where was the money coming from, or just?
It's always been a state grant.
It has been,
Yep.
And it will continue, it's not, this isn't
No,
changing.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
At least I'm not
So
understanding
it
is.
really comes down to, if Morrison County decides to administer this program, we're offering our residents another option of service.
So there's no county dollars that go into this particular grant outside of the administrative costs, which we are reimbursed 5% for.
All right. So did I ask for a motion and second? on
You
this?
got that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Melanie.
Thank you very much, Melanie.
You can sit, you can stay there if you
Yeah,
like.
go ahead and sit here.
So,
You're
the-
better looking than Brad.
So the next thing is a request for a position replacement. It's a social work position. Unfortunately, our juvenile justice and McKick coordinator is moving on to a new life, far, far away. And this position is a half-time juvenile justice, and I think you might recall they came in and did a presentation on our juvenile justice program a couple weeks ago. And that's really a service that we provide as a collaborative between the courts, county attorney, corrections. And then the other half of that position is our Morrison County Interagency Coordinating Council position. It is fully funded through targeted case management and collaborative dollars. And so we are looking for approval to fill this position and any backfill that
I'll
may
ask for a
occur.
motion and a second.
So move, Mr.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Just one other comment that I might make about this particular position. I actually did reach out to Sourcewell to see if they could assist in some collaborative coordination, so I am still having those conversations. If it works out, we have plenty of other work for this to do, because one of the things when we brought this position, as you might recall, the goal was to start to recoup targeted case management dollars. And we are doing very well in that particular process. So, but I just want to open that door just a little bit, that we're still having conversations about a collaborative coordination as well across our county and maybe partnering with some other counties. So I thought I'd just plant that little seed. So long way to go yet, so
Thanks for that.
thanks.
Thank you.
And are you representing public health?
Thank you, Melanie.
Nope,
Thank you,
she's
Mel.
not.
No, Brad. you
But
are.
I am, yes, I am, yes.
Have a good day.
She- And then the next, for the public health report, the next one is a public health nurse replacement for the Nurse Family Partnership. A couple things before we move into that is the current person who is leaving was our Nurse Family Partnership Reflective Supervisor throughout the CHB, and that was Jill. So initially when I brought this, it was going to be just a nurse family nurse. It's still gonna be just a nurse. We've promoted Lisa to be the reflective supervisor throughout the CHB. After meeting with all of the other counties around this, we talked about which person would be best fit within our nurse-family partnership program to do the reflective supervisor, not just assuming that we would take it over and post as such. And so as that conversation finished, we are gonna continue with that supervision of all of the nurse-family partnership nurses throughout the 4 counties. So unfortunately, Lisa, who's currently the other half of that program, is able to do that. So this is actually filling then just a regular public health nurse. And also in this motion, if we could look at the wide range of steps 1 through 9, knowing the difficulty we've had with filling this position. That's the other thing we'd look for with this particular.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna ask for a motion and a second for more discussion. I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. When you're asking step through 1 to 9, I understand that, but what's the degree that's required for this public health nurse, which makes it difficult to find?
Correct. This one actually is more difficult than a lot of other positions within public health that also need a nurse. This one has certain standards, so it's a bachelor's of nursing. And then they will have to either have a PHN or we'll have to move forward on a PHN, public health nurse certificate. So we'll have to work with the National Service Office on making sure whoever we interview is qualified to do the position, so the standards are a little higher because of those requirements.
Can we hire somebody just with a bachelor's degree without the public health nurse certificate and say, you know what, you come, we'll hire you, we get approved from whoever, and then we'll help you get certified for that? Is that
Yep.
possibly?
Yep, we have done that, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And there are other positions, like you said, that are nurse positions that we can look at 2-year RNs. This is one that we can't. So it does make it a little more difficult. We have a hard time finding any nurse, whether it be 2-year or 4-year educated, but this one, it has a little bit unique
So to ask the question to the board, when you say steps 1 through 9, you want to have them take a look at that? Can you explain what?
So currently under our personnel policies, when we are hiring, we can go up to step 4. If we want to go above step 4, we have to come back to the county board and request that. So what I'm asking for is permission to kind of be able to negotiate once we interview and decide who the top candidate is, anywhere from step 1 to step 9 without having to come back to board for step 5 through 9 during this particular process. Just because of the challenges of hiring a nurse and getting them in the door and onboarding.
So gentlemen, I have a motion and a second. Who made the motion and a second? Is that agreeable to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just have a pretty broad blank question perhaps. What happens if we just don't hire a nurse? If we don't fill this position, what really happens? Does the state come in and take away our public health? I'm asking the question, that's all.
We actually got an expansion grant, which really helps cover the second position for nurse-family partnership. So if we were not able to fill this position, we would not be able to abide by the terms of the grant that we received to expand this particular program. And so it would be challenging to meet the terms of that particular grant.
And that's what I was looking for, thank you.
And this is to be known, this is not a new hire, this is a replacement.
Yep, absolutely.
And Mr. Chair, the challenge in this whole process will be finding somebody is the most challenging, I think, in this regard.
All right, any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And then I just have one food pools and lodging license. That is for the new Mid-State Education District kitchen that just opened, I think, for kids this fall.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion and a second.
Second?
I got a second. Again, this is out on Industrial Park, correct? Yes.
Correct, yep.
Okay. All right. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just for the sake of argument, and I realize the motion is done, is that, I don't think is District 3. Is it?
Well, educational co-ops are district differently.
It's not commissioner
So-
district.
Yeah, this is it's not, yeah, correct.
It's not Commissioner District.
Yeah.
Just another thing about, Mr. Chair, another thing about this particular place here, they do not cook out there. The school district takes food out there to them every day. So,
All right, thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, Lancer.
Thanks, Brad.
I'm texting.
All right, Steve,
She's
we
not
got
quite there.
you. Why don't you come on up if we can go from there for Public Works report.
I know that we're going paperless, but
You cut
Very
another
slow
tree
at
down. You
Public
cut
Works.
another tree down.
Got a lot of them oaks.
Yeah.
You know, you're jumping at 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's
Good
'cause
grief,
he
you're
is
you're
so
jumping
Johnny
4
on the spot.
positions.
Yeah.
So will we delete those?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll just
Happens when
delete
you're
those
punctual.
ones in between,
Back to them.
Mr. Chair? We'll just delete those ones?
Oh, no,
Come get her, Michael.
if they don't show up, I guess we'll have to. All right, Steve, what do you have for
Chairman,
us?
just wanted to update the board on the status of our construction program. And so the sheet that has the 2019 Transportation Improvement Plan projects listed, and on the left-hand side, we have them listed by contract number. That 1806 is Eagle Construction, and it is the repair and the maintenance activities that we have on the Sioux Line Bridge over the Mississippi River. We've completed the west abutment. Pier 3 was completed. We poured the pier cap, and we utilized, Eagle utilized a new approach to the repair of the pier stem. It's a shotcrete process where you, under high pressure, you shoot concrete that has a number of additives into it, and you build up those areas of that poor deteriorated concrete that you've removed that way, and it just kind of keeps building it up till you get it to the condition that you had when you started, and then they finish it off, and then it's treated with a curing compound and left to cure out. It turned out quite well compared to Piers 1 and Piers 2, which took them weeks to do. They were able, with this shotcrete process, to repair Pier 3 in 1 day. So it made a big difference in time. Agate Road was a carryover from last year. That's completed. That's up in Cushing Township. It was a town bridge project that took place earlier this season, so we're done with that one. Contract 283 was our federal project, and the resurfacing of County State Aid Highway 39 from just the Pier city limits out to our maintenance line with Mille Lacs County. Then contract 284 was a number of projects with Knife River, 833, 41, 239, and 251. When we show them complete, essentially the work is complete except for final maintenance and cleanup. So there might be some seeding left to do, some washouts that have to be repaired, very minor type activities that are left that we provide a punch list with for the contractor. And then once those are complete, we come to the board with your certification of completion so we can make final payment. Then contract 285 was the Anderson Brothers contract out in the western part of the county, 111, 217, and 218. And so that work has been completed, and also we're into final maintenance and cleanup. We have a HIS project, 286, where we ground in edge line, the sinusoidal work that was countywide, so that was completed. Contract 287, again, that is a Knife River contract. And it is our 257, that's our joint effort with the city of Little Falls and Little Falls Township. On the new construction of the, where we're tying into the 160th Avenue, we have the grade in, gravel's been placed. There are a couple of weaker spots in the sub area that we're allowing to dry out here before we'd move forward with the paving. On the other shorter stretch, the paved stretch from the overpass of Highway 10 to the road that goes into the airport, the curb and gutter has been replaced, and it was an old bituminous section of curb and gutter. New concrete curb and gutter is in place. We'll be milling the old pavement off and placing new mix then and tying into the curb and gutter, and then we'll be carrying it to the east onto our new alignment. So the project, as far as the dirt work, all of that has been done. We've gotten hit with some pretty good rain events there that have, whenever you have all that exposure, you're always doing a lot of repair, and so we have that going on.
So Steve, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind me to interrupt, as long as we're on the topic that we're on, is that road destined to be what by the end of the year?
Our effort is that we will have a bituminous surface, at least a base course on it, so that we can carry it through the winter with a bituminous surface. That's our goal. If we have some weak areas, we'd hold back on the final wear and let it go through a freeze cycle, and then we'd finish it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Contract 288 is, we've got a number of culvert replacements and smaller bridge replacements. That's under Marvin Treader Incorporated. And we held pre-construction on it last week. And the start date that we're looking at right now, as far as weather would permit, is September 23rd. So we have two bridges, one west of Buckman and one down by Gutwall's Corner. And then we have a number of culvert replacements on 8 that would follow through from Trunk Highway 27 to the Crow Wing County line. 289 again was another HIS project where we ground in stop bars and new pavement messages. Then county contract 286 is a joint project with Benton County. That one is a Knife River project that the grading contractor is Marvin Treader Incorporated. They removed the bituminous last week and they've stripped the shoulders, and so they'll start to move the dirt this week. Once that is put in place, that's when he'd be moving over to our project there on September 23rd. So unless we really get some terrible fall here, I think we're gonna be in pretty good condition, pretty good position to complete our entire 2019 program, which would be nice to see happen. Thank you. So I don't know if you have any questions, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with the way that's proceeding.
I like it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Steve, the work that was done on 11 and 1 out to, in my district out there, I drove both of those stretches now and 217, and that's just awesome work, and I think it's tremendous that with the kind of weather that we've had this summer and spring, that to accomplish all of this, working around the amount of rain and stuff like that is a tremendous accomplishment, I think, in my book. And the roads look good, and even better than that, the residents out there very happy with the new road, but also that it wasn't like what they're seeing when they come into Little Falls. You guys got out there, you went after it, got it done, and and everything's back to normal. So, great.
Yeah, our two successful contractors, Knife River and Anderson Brothers, I think they've done a very good job for us this year. Projects from a quality assurance standpoint and all our testing, that type of thing, they've come in. We haven't had issues with that. So that's always a positive. You're not running into problems with aggregates failing or gradations failing or oils not meeting the requirements, those type of things. We haven't had any of those issues.
Yeah, I won't tell you how fast you can drive on 11, but if you're late, it's a good route.
You must take it often.
Oh, nice.
Sorry about
Good
that.
comeback, good comeback.
Steve, I would agree too. The projects that you did in eastern Morrison County, they're very well. The only thing I don't see on this list, and maybe it's not on here, you did a culvert replacement on 51, did you not?
Those were force account, and so since
Okay.
they weren't under contract, we did
They're
those with
different.
our own forces.
Okay, sounds good.
That's why they're not showing
Okay,
up here.
sounds good.
We have been doing prep work for the 2020 road program, which Commissioner Wilson's referring to. We had a number of pipe up on 51 that needed to work, and we took care of that with our own forces this fall. So we'll be ready in the spring when it's time to fire up again.
Good, thank you.
Awesome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, then the other issue that I had passed out is a request for your authorization to proceed with obtaining approval for ATV uses to utilize the Sioux Line Mississippi River Bridge. When we went through the process of developing our master plan for the Sioux Line, this was one of the bigger issues that was raised, is to allow ATVs to cross the Mississippi River over the bridge that currently exists there. Right now, our ordinance doesn't allow it, because when we accepted funds from the Federal Highway Program, we agreed that we would not allow motorized use of the paved portion of the trail. We were successful a number of years ago in obtaining an exemption in which we would allowed ATVs to cross Highway 10 over the bridges that are over Highway 10, and made a substantial safety improvement, I think, for the ATV users in getting across Highway 10 and in that area. I think they've seen the benefit of that, and that was why they were proposing it when we were developing the master plan. I know you as commissioners have heard both sides of that story. And it ended up in the approved master plan. Now that we're in a position where the contract is getting very close to being completed for the repair of the Sioux Line Bridge, I'm looking for your direction to authorize us to try and accomplish this activity where ATVs could get up onto the trail, cross at the bridge, and then we'd have to get off in the same fashion as we do over Highway 10.
Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion and a second.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Again,
Mr.
this is
Chair?
excuse me,
No,
sorry.
go
Go ahead, Commissioner Zansky.
This is, for me, this is a 100% and total safety issue. If we have somebody coming from, let's just say Piers, they're now crossing Highway 10, which is fine, and they want to go to Bolus, they want to go to Holdingford, wherever it might be, Swanville, Upsala. They're not going to take the jerry-rigged route, if you will, back over to Nature Road or Highway or County Road 26 and get on that road, physically get on the road, go around the curves by the powwow grounds, go across the bridge on 26 or on Nature Road, and then get off. It's doing it the way Steve's got the idea here, crossing the bridge, if you will, the Sioux Line Bridge, is absolutely 100% of a safety move. Thus, I fully will support that.
Steve, this is kind of the same avenue you're taking as we did to get across Highway 10, because there for a while, ATVs were not allowed to go across there. This is going to be pretty much the same process, correct?
That's how I view it, yes.
All right. Gentlemen, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that's all I have.
Thank you,
Steve,
Steve.
have a great day.
See you, Steve. Thank you.
Moving along, let's go back to Land Services. We got Amy and Jean.
Go back. We really got rid of that.
Delete.
Delete the no here.
Morning.
Did you run fast?
Morning.
I didn't get that till I
Oh,
was actually in here.
Yeah. It was a cute
What
little
do you have
emoji
for
I
us
sent
this
her.
morning?
I have a couple of things for you.
All right.
The first one is to consider the conditional use permit application from Kurt and Bobby Joe Hawkinson. This was to establish a mini storage facility consisting of up to 12 buildings and up to 550 units. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 4 conditions. And those 4 conditions were no outdoor storage of items other than 2 enclosed trailers for use by renters shall occur at any time. Said trailer shall be stored on the paved area of the property. Second one, property owners shall abide by all stormwater requirements that pertain to the facility. Third, prior to permitting the first building, the property owner shall provide for the proper sealing of the abandoned well on site and shall provide documentation of such to the Land Services Department. And the fourth is prior to permitting the first building, the property owner shall arrange for a wetland delineation to be performed on the property. The property owner shall provide a copy of the wetland delineation to the Land Services Department.
Gentlemen, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion for further discussion, Mr. Chair.
All right, I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I just got one on the the number one there, said trailers shall be stored on the paved area of the property. I don't know, I think he should be able to put these trailers wherever he wants to put them, whether it's on the grass or on the paved area. That's just my 2 cents.
And that's a good point. Again, I had a couple phone calls on this one, and it's about, the size of these storage sheds in that area with the watershed. Again, I don't know, again, bringing up the, where he can put his trailers, I'm assuming that's gonna be fenced in.
Correct.
So they would be inside the fence, these trailers, so
That's correct.
I guess if he wants to put them on top of the buildings or below them, whatever, he should be able to do that. But again, the biggest thing is here, and I know there's a great discussion on this, the size of these storage sheds in such a, it's like they had it converted from, what was it, from a rural residential to ag to allow.
A rezone from residential
There
to
we go,
ag, yes.
there we go, yeah, the rezone, so. And that's the reason he did this, because of the fact that he wanted to put these storage sheds, so. I guess, Commissioner Lemire, you're asking that we remove the said trailers shall be stored on the paved area of the property, that's your suggestion?
Yep.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with
I'm
it.
fine with that too,
Okay,
So strike that last.
Strike that last sentence.
where it says paved.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, all right, gentlemen, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Right, thank you. Then I have Jean here for an abatement.
Good morning, I have an abatement and an update for you. We'll start with the abatement, and I have one, and I'm requesting approval for it.
Gentlemen, I ask for a motion and a second.
So move.
I have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
I got any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I also have an update on the Northern Natural Gas Company. This is a state-assessed property. It's state-assessed just throughout the county, or, I'm sorry, throughout the state. And we've got railroads, we've got gas lines, things like that. We don't value them, the state tells us what we put on it, and that's how they're taxed. The Northern Natural Gas Company is appealing the Department of Revenue's valuation for their assessment on 2015, 16, 17, and 18. They have gone through with the 15 and 16, and there's a large amount that in tax difference that will be abated. This is not something that you have to vote on. This is something that is court-ordered, that we just
For your
have to do.
information.
This is for your information, yes. So the difference between the assessed value of 2015 and 16 in taxes is $38,616. And for the 16 pay 17 is, in taxes, is gonna be $76,266. So that's a grand total of $114,882. And again, just a reminder that this is just for the 15 and 16 assessment, and we will be hearing from the 17 and 18 assessment.
Gina, this has been a state ordered or whatever, is there an appeal process that's gonna be, this is gonna be pay or move
No.
on, okay?
This is move forward.
It's worked its way through the courts.
Right, yeah,
And
this was
so-
brought up
so,
years ago
yeah,
already.
so that information has been provided to the courts, and the
Yeah.
courts have ruled to abate. So, and then there will be 2 more years that are under consideration of the court, so this is the first 2 years. We'll probably see something coming down the pike here the next year or so for the other 2 years.
So does this mean, Mr. Chair, does this mean that we have to write out a check? I'm a little lost here.
Yes, this will be taken from,
From Morrison County's
Morrison
general
County.
fund,
I'm not sure.
Mr. Chair, I think that's probably a better question for the auditor treasurer as far as if they're cutting a check or if they're crediting payments, and so that might be something Chelsea can answer for you.
okay.
We handle the valuation part,
okay?
and then
Okay.
how that abatement is handled on their end, that would be a great question for Chelsea. with the
So
auditor.
it was, what, the 76,000 was for what years?
For 16.
16 and 17?
16 pay 17.
So,
And if I understood correctly, and I think I did, we never assessed anything. We did exactly what the state said to do. We collected the money based upon what the state said. and now virtually say it any way you want to, the state's saying give it back.
There's great debate in terms of that process and the very little impact that the counties have with that, and then yet being responsible to, well, essentially refund and credit, not just the county, but is it not all settlement, all taxing districts collect dollars on this value, so keep in mind, it's not just the county, but it's the others also. Is that correct, Chelsea?
School board, cities.
Yep. And so I assume we just net that out at the next settlement that we have, or through the process of the next collection year. There certainly is debate, because there are some of these issues that come about that are substantially impactful if there are greater values in different counties. And so it certainly is something that's talked about and hopefully at some point addressed, because we have very little ability to influence any of that, and it's frustrating.
Questions I'll ask Chelsea when she comes up about this here. We won't leave them to your burden. How's that?
Well, we could make up something. We could, I could do a pretty good job of that.
Would you, huh? All right.
Do a pretty
I'd try. That's all we
So
have for you.
that was good, but it's not so good information,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've
All
had
right.
it in the past that the numbers haven't been as large, but also the property that was a couple of years ago or last year that we did only had 4 parcels. This one has 17 parcels. So the value gets up there, then the taxes get up there.
And this is not the only county that's being affected
Oh,
by
no,
this,
no,
right?
this is throughout the state.
Statewide, yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Wow.
Any questions?
I have one, going back to the CUP, just for my own information, on that CUP, and it stated in there that this is for mini storage.
Correct.
So mini storage, I'm gonna assume that in our
Ordinances?
yeah, in our binders there, that there'll be a definition of what size fits into mini storage versus a large storage facility, and what is applicable to both of those, is that correct?
To be honest, I'm not sure if we define mini storage, and if it's not defined, then it's the general understanding of the term is what we use. How we have interpreted and why we put it under mini storage is because each individual unit is of the size, typically what you'd find in a storage facility. We haven't really differentiated.
There's nothing with 20-foot doors that he's gonna have in there. that can
No,
back-
and.
doesn't say that.
Or warehouse space, I mean,
Right.
it's the individual units. This is the biggest one we've ever had, by far.
It's biggest as far as the number of
Units.
number of
Yeah, the
units.
number of units, not the size of the units, but the number of the units.
I was just curious because, we've had where, retired farms have have converted, existing,
Chicken barns.
chicken barns, thank you, into storage facilities. And if those are, classified, described, recognized differently than these new little mini storage things. I was just curious, and we don't have to get into it.
Historically, if someone is proposing to rent storage space, we've put it under that mini storage category, where someone is renting a designated space in a
Okay.
building is how we've treated all of those.
Mr. Chair, maybe where Commissioner Blaine's talking about, I remember the conversation had one of the buildings or some of the buildings, the roof was gonna be 22 feet high with not much slope. So that would tell me that there could be some bigger doors than normal. That question wasn't asked, but, because most of them are coming off, most of the storage buildings come off the side, which, they're talking 20-some feet high on some of those. Because I remember one of the neighbors asked.
They're not off the gable end typically.
Yeah, the applicant was proposing some where you could get your camper in there, something that needed a little bit more clearance.
Commissioner Blaine brought up a good point to be discussed later about these conversions to chicken barns to storage, so that's a good point. Oh, I can't
That
wait.
discussion. Okay.
All right, good information, ladies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did we vote?
Did we vote on that?
We didn't have
There
a
was,
vote on the,
this was a discussion, this was no, we didn't need no,
Yep.
we didn't action on that one. And we did already vote on the CUP.
Yeah, you brought it up after.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, thank you.
because we deleted
Thank
the
you.
one, all right, motor vehicle.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, ladies.
Do we have a new guest?
We do. This is our new hire for motor vehicle.
All right,
So it's a
welcome.
it's a great day
Here
for
we go.
Morrison County. It's a great day to.
I have to bring this
Sun
up.
always shines.
I have to bring this up. The last two new hires that they had, I am either getting older or they're getting younger. I don't know which one.
Well, you are getting older.
Yeah, you are getting older. We'll vote that.
You are, that's right, yeah.
So I have here with me today Kara Rohr. She is our new hire. This is day 2 of her journey with Morrison County, and she comes from county background and the license center. So she is aware of the systems that we use and how to use them.
Well,
So
welcome.
yes.
Welcome, Kara.
And I have it on good accord that I hear she's very smart as well. She's smart.
But smart people.
She's been in our office last couple of days and doing orientation, so we're excited to have you and welcome.
You don't have to answer this question. Do you live here in Morrison County somewhere?
Yes, I live in an apartment.
All right, good to hear.
Yes, so just wanted to introduce her today, and I have her with me while I go through motor vehicle. And Chairman, if I could, I got an email the other day on customer service, and if I could just share it with you.
Before you do that, let's go back to this pipeline
Abatement,
abatement.
sure.
What are you gonna, when we determine, obviously, there's a lawsuit for, because that was for 16, 17. 18, 19, have they paid their taxes on that one already? Have we collected for that? Do you know? And
I don't know off the top if
Or
they
do we-
paid their taxes. This is a tax court case, and
Right.
it's already,
So-
came through the pipeline, so it's our notification now that this is at our front doorstep, and we have to act on it and pay these dollars back, and then there's guidelines and statutes that we have to follow.
But they haven't told us what 18, 19 is gonna be yet, I'm assuming,
No.
right? So you can't guess, well, hey, we're gonna charge you 30,000, we're gonna charge you 10.
Right, we don't know that yet.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's part of the issue with that is we're stuck in the cleanup phase only and not able to do any type of proactive approach with all this. We don't get involved in the appraisal part of it. We just collect what it is that we need to collect based upon the value that other entities determine, and we're cleaning up after
So-
the fact. It's tough.
One of the things that I plan to do in my office, I don't know if it's been done before, but is to notify the school districts, counties, or the city townships, what they're gonna be affected by as far as they levied on this, because it will affect them. So just having that breakout, and I can provide that to you as well.
Well, those 17 for the 16, 17, 76,000, that's a lot of money to pay back for townships and schools and whatever.
Yeah, it's a large amount, and so in our office, we're gonna break that out based on what's county portion, all the way down to cities, township, school districts, so.
All right, well, moving on, Chelsea?
So if I could.
That's what I'm saying, so moving on.
I received an email on customer service, and obviously customer service is a big thing in the county and in my offices as well. It's always top priority. And going the extra mile is something that I just expect. So it was nice Monday morning to get an email from an individual in Morrison County. So if I could read it to you, just to share. So this is from an individual, and he states, I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that you have a superstar in your department. Jill Kalani is an absolute professional who does not only showed me that she knows her job better than most, but she went well above and beyond what I ever expected as a customer. I've been in active duty military for over 20 years now, moved 10 times to 5 different states and 3 different countries. And each time my family and I have made one of those moves, we've found ourselves in a local DMV for some sort of service. I can assure you I have seen more than my fair share in the Morrison County DMV, and the customer care of Jill are truly second to none. Let me give you a quick example. Just last week, my wife's car registration came due, so I sent Jill the following email. Hello, Jill, it's me again. My last remaining vehicle, not registered in Minnesota, has come due. We bought the car in Kansas and is now plated in Kentucky, and we now live in New York. So like others, I'd like to plate it in Minnesota. Please let me know what you need so I can get it together. The same day, Jill replied with a prompt response, like she always does, along with the last 4 times in the past. Life in the military has been rewarding, but also has had its challenges. Professionals like Jill make serving this great country of ours that much easier.
Cool.
Very nice, very nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's good to hear we.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Kara, you're working with that person. You
Yeah,
do know
I
that,
gotta
don't
live
you?
up to that. Yeah, setting the bar high.
Yeah.
All right.
The bar is high. And I received this email yesterday, and just in the last half an hour, I seen that top priority, going the extra mile with Bree. And even at the end of that, so we closed our doors at 4 o'clock, and I scoped the hallway to see if anybody was coming in for motor vehicle before I shut the door. Even though I could have shut the door and not looked around, I saw somebody looking for motor vehicle. So I said, hey, here for a motor vehicle, come on in. We close at 4, so come on in. And he goes, well, and I asked him, I said, are you here for driver's license? He goes, nope, tabs. And I said, do you have your insurance handy? Oh, no. And I said, that's okay, come on in and we'll get you started and we'll go from there. So Bree took the time to work with him, and then he had to run out to his vehicle. So she waited by the window to watch to see him go out and come back in. So it's just that customer service that we do, and not every office.
It's also a reflection on you too, Chelsea. Just
Absolutely.
remember that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So I just wanted to share that, that we have that face-to-face customer service every day. And sometimes as a department head and commissioners, we only hear about the not so good. So I just wanted to share that today.
It is a good example of us living out what we've identified as important in this organization in terms of strategic imperatives and values that we have and stuff. So thank you for bringing that forward. It's a good example.
Mm-hmm. So with customer service, my request to you today is to approve the equipment for the kiosk ticketing system in motor vehicle. This is brought to you today to have an action motion, as it was not budgeted in the 20.
Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion and a second. This will be a roll
Mr. Chair,
call.
I'll make a motion to approve this.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, Commissioner Zelinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. Myself is aye. Motion carried.
Thank you. Next on the report, under Auditor Treasurer, I have the cash report on hand. So just a visual to see where we're at.
And this looks good to you?
Looks good to me.
That's what I like to hear. You're the money person. I like to hear that.
Yes. And last but not least, I have warrants to approve.
Motion to pay all the bills, gentlemen. I need a motion.
So,
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Again, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Myself is aye. Motion carried.
Thank you. That's all I have today.
All right.
Chelsea, I'm going to assume that letter that you read to us was also shared with the rest of the staff in motor vehicle there too.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. And I also want to say I'm impressed too, Mr. Chair, that it seemed like it was just a week or two ago that Ms. Chelsea had come to ask us to allow them to to hire a new person there, and so it seems like this happened really fast. And I know that's not an easy position to find a qualified candidate for, but I'm happy that Kara is here. I'm happy for motor vehicle, and I commend all of you down there.
And I'm sure Chelsea picks nothing but the best, so I just wanna make sure.
Well, Kara, you rose
That's
to the
what's
top.
expected, so.
Yeah, you rose to the top from a substantial pool. One of the biggest responses that we've had in a long time for a position, so that says a lot about you. So thank you for investing in us.
Have a good day, ladies.
Chelsea, thank you. Kara, wonderful to meet you. Thank you.
Good to meet you guys.
Administrators report. Deb, you
All
got
right.
something here
Mr.
for
Chair,
us.
I do have one action item that's in the board packet, and just, there's one thing that we missed that I need to add to it if I could, or at least get direction from you. The first is to reappoint Alice Sunday to the HRA board for another 5-year term. And that goes
Gentlemen,
where,
I'll ask for a
So
motion.
move, Mr. Chair.
I need a second.
Second?
I got a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
all right, and the second item isn't in the board packet, but Sean and I, he thought I was doing it and I thought he was doing it, so that's why we're not here today. But we had talked at the last building committee meeting, and I think at a planning session regarding the public safety annex, and just looking to get authorization from you to go out to bid, so we can actually know what that cost would be. We have estimates in, we have a plan put in place, if that is to be approved eventually, but we can't get there if we don't actually seek bids. So, looking for that authorization just to begin that bidding process.
Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion, a second, to get the bids for the public safety annex.
So moved.
I got a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? Not, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, all right, we'll get that paperwork and more to come on that issue. It's just the outset. Other than that, I don't have action items for you today. We have a budget meeting again at 1. That's moving along nicely. Next week, just so you know, Tuesday, we will be again talking about Lake Shamana Improvement District. So they did come in to meet with us regarding the bonding and that question, or those questions on their ballot for the membership meeting. I'm learning a lot in terms of how that works. So John Kolb will be here along with a representative from David Drown and Associates, who would be the bonding authority with that, to offer us much more detail on how this works, what the county's involvement is, what it isn't, what they ultimately will need to be. They, as in the LID board, need to be requesting of you to engage in that process.
Is that gonna be part of the planning?
Yeah, part of the planning session.
The conversation will include, I'm just asking, members from the lid also.
I am going to, yes, I needed to get, I just got confirmation this morning that David Drown can make it, or at least a representative, Jason Murray, I believe is who we're working with. He was here the other week when we met with them, so I'll certainly let the LID board know that. John Kolb did say he could come up. It's a completely different set of statutes, and it's a unique process with this. And so I want to make sure we're all on the same page, and I want to make sure we know what it is that's being requested of you, why, and how it can work. So more to come on that, the issue that keeps coming. So that's happening. Any other questions from me or anything that you guys need?
The gift that keeps giving.
No? All right. Sounds good.
All right, gentlemen, let's do the schedules, but before we do that, since we got Deb and Tabitha here, this, next week, we have the, what's it called? Water Festival. Our planning meeting is at 8:30, but they again, I like going to it. It's at 9 o'clock, so I'm assuming.
They want us there at 8:45, I think,
Right,
Mr. Chair.
but I'm just saying, we'll have to reschedule the time on the planning.
Is that Tuesday and Wednesday?
Tuesday and Wednesday, yep. So are we able to change the time on the 16th from 8:30, what do you think, 9:30?
I would propose 9:30 at the earliest, because it does take some time. They don't get there until 9, and.
Should we maybe go to 10?
How about 9:45? Should we do it that way? The planning
Yep,
session?
at the latest, I would say. I mean, 9:30 probably would be okay, or not, or?
Well, again, all depends.
We usually get done pretty easy. We go in introduce ourselves and
Yeah.
It really only
I
usually
think,
takes 5
let's
minutes.
do it at 9:45, then we don't have to, so how's that sound?
Okay,
It's on the 17th, 9:45, we'll change the planning session.
Okay, I am assuming that that'll work with John Colvin and David Drowns, and I haven't scheduled that for sure, so it'll probably, they're traveling, so it'll help.
All right, oh, so they're coming? Okay.
We should be there at the water festival at 8:45, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So planning's at 9:45, we'll be at the water festival, and I'm sure Tyler, he's more than welcome to be there at the water festival.
absolutely, Tyler.
Yeah.
I don't think we've done a water festival story, Tyler.
And then you gotta change the date.
Oh,
Yeah, he was there, I remember. you.
never
in
mind.
there, okay.
Okay, so let's start with schedules, and how about, let's start with Commissioner Wilson.
I knew you were doing that.
Oh,
while I
he's
was put-
busy.
No, I'll do it, Mr. Knapp. Okay, what dates are we talking about?
September 15th through September 28th.
Okay, September 15th, I've got Camp Ripley Open House. On
Time is what?
I don't know.
10 o'clock to 2.
10 to 2, okay. 10 to 2. On the 17th, we have planning session. I have community development. Got at 12:15. I got budget meeting at 1. And we have that water festival now at 8:30 in the morning.
45.
8:45. On the 18th, I don't have anything.
Water festival.
Well, okay, yeah, the water festival's on the 18th also, I won't be there for that, but,
When does this go through, to
To the 28th.
28th, okay.
okay, on the 23rd, Planning Commission. 24th, Planning Session. No, yeah, Planning Commission again I got, I don't know what's.
23rd?
23rd is
I've got
what?
23rd and 24th,
For planning commission on the 24th, too?
that's what I've got, but I'm not sure that's right.
Anything in planning session, or?
County board, no, we got county board meeting on the 24th.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would check that out. And then, that's it.
All right. Commissioner Lemire,
He's got me.
okay. Commissioner Blaine,
I'm covered other than September 26th, Thursday, September 26th, Region 5. Other than that, I'm going to try and go back and find that planning
yeah,
commission.
I gotta find that too. Commissioner Zelinski,
On the 17th, just for information, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a career force open house. We've got budgets at 1, so I'm thinking I'm not going to make that one. On the 18th, at 5 o'clock in the evening, I've got Hands of Hope in Todd County. On the 19th, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got Armor Owners and Operators. This time it's going to be at the Alexandria Fire Hall. I'm not sure if I can make it. On the 23rd, 24th, on the 25th, at 11 o'clock in the morning, I've got an Emergency Services Board Executive Committee meeting, and at 1 o'clock, a full board meeting of the Emergency Services Board. The 26th, 12:30 in the afternoon, we've got a State Emergency Communications Board meeting at the MnDOT Training Center in Arden Hills. And Mr. Chair, I believe that's everything for me.
all right.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Blaine.
I went back and looked here, the planning and zoning meeting is on the 23rd, according to the email. And Mr. Chair, if I may, by the end of the day today, a date and time will be set for a closed session board meeting of the director, or of the commissioners of South Country Health Alliance, for a closed session meeting.
You said there's no date on that yet, or there is a date?
The commissioners were to submit opportunities to meet by the end of the day today, so, and I have replied to that, but, so I'm assuming either by the end of the day or first thing tomorrow, we'll know when, I'll know when I'll have to end up going down to Owatonna.
And you'll send that information to Tabitha when you do get the right date, correct?
I will do that.
You're phenomenal, Commissioner Blaine. I appreciate you doing that.
Well, thank you, thank you.
And-
It's just lovely.
It's what you do.
Okay, I have a great regional library meeting on Tuesday the 17th at 5 o'clock. On the 19th, I have TCC at 5:30. And I believe you cover me there. I have a question. I'm trying to open up my calendar here. It keeps telling me something with we sent all these dates for schedules or meetings that are coming up. Should we accept all them? Because one has to do with chairs, or I can't read it, I don't know.
I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know either.
I
but
got all kinds of
Yeah,
calendar reminders.
yeah, I can't, it won't let me open
Been
it for
getting a
some
bunch of
reason.
stuff lately.
Oh,
A
really?
date- A date switch on one
Yeah,
of them.
it's just, I got like a dozen of them.
Like, what's the topic? Just give me an example, so I,
Boardroom.
Yep.
Canceled planning session, and then it says
Oh.
only chairs facing dais with
Yeah.
presenter table.
oh, the commissioners must be on the boardroom distribution. It asked me to send the update to everybody, or like not send an update, and it must be kicking it out.
So it's the setup, so maintenance asked, to have like clear direction, even though board's all the same. I went in there and just made it all uniform. I just put it out to the entire series.
Okay, so we're gonna have to figure out how to take you off of that then.
Look, see, if it comes over, it came over only chairs.
I just ignored
Yeah.
it.
So I didn't
Okay.
open them, so should I just delete all these and not make
Yep.
anything?
You can delete all that. We'll talk to IT about how the back side of that scheduling works, because you must be
Okay.
tied to that boardroom scheduling, which makes sense in some regards,
Right.
but not the way we want it to work. So thanks for letting us know.
Tabitha, I don't know, on the 25th is the MMCC-AC conference, which is Nicole Kearns. And I won't be going to that, but that is the date, and I don't think Commissioner Blaine's gonna be going either.
Well, I'm not gonna commit to being there yet because of this, because of my schedule, this seems to be in flux.
So anyway, that is the date of the conference at 8
So
o'clock.
it's on your calendar though?
It's on my calendar, but I won't be there because I'm gonna be out.
Okay, so I don't need, do you want me to post it as a public notice or no? Are you thinking you're gonna go?
It's possible I could, but I can't confirm that at this time.
So do you want it on there in case?
What?
Do you want it on there in case you go?
You could,
Okay.
you certainly could.
We'll get into that. Motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I got a motion, a second, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. There you go, now we can.